healthcare overhaul. Ken Cuccinelli is pushing forward with his lawsuit after a Justice Department request to have it thrown out. The case claims that Congress overstepped its bounds by requiring people to buy health insurance whether they want it or not. Earlier this morning, I spoke with Mr. Cuccinelli about that ruling and about the White House's response that this case is just politics as usual. All right, sir, thank you so much for joining us. How significant is this victory?
It is very significant for a number of reasons. One, it allows us to go forward on the merits of the health care lawsuit. That's critical, both in terms of how long it will take to resolve this conflict and because we get to the merits. We get to the question of whether the Commerce Clause and the taxing power can support this legislation that the Congress and President have passed, which we and over 20 other states have said is unconstitutional.
You know, the Obama administration has responded to the loss by essentially downplaying it, saying that they are confident that this law will be found constitutional, and then adding that this challenge and others like it are an attempt to settle a political dispute, basically saying it's sour grapes because this law got passed and, you know, it played out fairly and folks should have to live with it. Your response to that?
You know, when I was a Republican legislator, I opposed Virginia participating in No Child Left Behind, a Republican president's proposal. When this bill came through, I was Attorney General, and I have an obligation to protect the Constitution and the statutes of Virginia. That's what we're doing in this case. They have violated the Constitution. It's my duty to take it on. And I believe we're likely to prevail. There's no guarantees when it's unprecedented. But in the ruling yesterday, the judge said, whether it's found unconstitutional or not, that under both the Commerce Clause jurisprudence and the taxing power law that exists today, this bill is out beyond both of them. So if it's found to be constitutional, it will be the new outer limit of federal power. And I would tell you, it'd essentially be an elimination of federalism as we've known it for over 220 years in this country.
You know, if this judge, who was a George W. Bush appointee, rules in your favor, this will obviously go up on appeal. And this could wind up, and likely will wind up, I think, in the U.S. Supreme Court, because according to the judge, it really does raise unprecedented issues about government power and what the Congress can do, how far into our personal lives they can and cannot reach. The reason this is so unusual, this health care law, and in specific, the individual mandate that you challenged, is because for the first time ever, they're essentially penalizing, taxing, however you want to put it, somebody sitting in their own house and not doing anything. That's essentially what makes it so extraordinary, correct?
That's absolutely right. They are trying to treat doing nothing as economic activity. That has never, ever been done before. And in fact, King George III and his parliament recognized they couldn't do it, but this Congress and president don't recognize that the Constitution restrains them from that opportunity.
You know, it's not just Virginia now that's challenging this law. We're seeing more and more states weigh in, including 20 states that have an action going down in Florida based on other grounds. If this ruling is upheld by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and perhaps by the United States Supreme Court eventually, what does it do? I mean, what is the practical effect? Is health care gone?
Well, first of all, in that question, let's not talk about it as health care. This case is about liberty, not health care. The bill is about health care, but the violation of the Constitution would take place if they were ordering you to buy Chevrolets. It's the same thing. But this bill does not have what's called a severability clause. You can't sever out one part that might be unconstitutional and keep the rest. That means that if the individual mandate is found to be unconstitutional, as Virginia says it is, the whole bill falls, the whole thing.
Wow, which is why you're going to see the Obama administration fight vigorously to try to get this, to get a favorable ruling as this case goes forward. Because now, you know, the judge is just basically giving you the green light to litigate the case. And when do you expect a decision on the merits from this judge? In the fall?
The federal government has to answer 13 days from today, and summary judgment is already set for oral argument on October 18th. And if the judge takes roughly the same amount of time to decide summary judgment as he did the motion to dismiss, that would put us in the middle to late part of November.
Well, our thanks to Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli for coming on. And America Live will continue to follow this story. We'll bring you any developments, in particular on that health care challenge. You'll be hearing a lot more of that.